Welcome to the video on creating groups and services in your salon and spa management software. If you have not already added your staff, rooms, and equipment, you're going to want to do that first. Please feel free to watch those videos on adding staff, rooms, and equipment. They will be necessary when creating our groups and services. To create our groups and services, we select Setup. From Setup, we select Salon and Spa Services. Your designators may list it as something else: salon services, spa services, even office sessions. Could be anything. We're looking at fourth from the top, something like Salon and Spa Services. We click there and that will bring up our services window. Let's discuss the difference between a group and a service. A group may be something like waxing, whereas within that group you may have services like lip wax, chin wax, bikini wax, underarms, back, top of leg, etc. So we'll create a group. Let's create a group called hairstyles. To create a group, we simply type in the name of the group under group name in this field. After typing in the name of the group, we hit enter on our keyboard. That is all we need to do to create a group. This group has now been successfully created. We can now choose a group color. If you do not choose a group color, the default will be yellow. By choosing a group color, you're saying that all of the services within that group are going to be this color on the appointment book. Now we'll choose our first service name. To do so, it's just as easily as creating a group name. We simply type in the service name and hit enter. So let's try child haircut. And enter on our keyboard. It will put the name of the service into the box below, as well as across the top here in blue under the tabs: prices, times, rooms, equipment, cleanup, location, and Darcy. First, we'll start with prices. A child's haircut will say perhaps $15. So we'll type in 15.00, hit enter on our keyboard to lock in our price. We can mark that this requires a formula, or perhaps that we don't want discounts applying to it, or even for unit pricing. Unit pricing may be for something like Botox, where the service itself is Botox, but you may use 5 vials, 6 vials, 20 vials, whatever it may be, and of course that would affect the price. Something like a haircut would not have unit pricing. You can also offer individual pricing based on the operator. We'll get to that in just a moment. Next, we have times. Under times, we have the ability to choose a specific time based on our employee or a default salon and spa time. We'll be using our left and right arrows to add or reduce time. And you can have this in 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, and 60-minute increments. I have mine set at 15. And I'm going to say that the child's haircut takes 30 minutes. So I'm going to hit my right arrow twice, and now I have 30 minutes. If I use the left arrow, it will reduce it 15 minutes at a time till I'm back down to 0. Again, 30 minutes is what I want. Down below I have single, double, and triple. A single means that you are with the customer for one block of time, like for instance a haircut. Maybe even a Swedish massage or something like that. That would be a single block of time that the provider is with the customer. And that's what single means. In this case, with a haircut, we don't need any rooms or equipment. We may, however, want some cleanup time added. And with that cleanup time, we can say that the provider of the service is going to be blocked out for an additional amount of time. Perhaps they have to clean up their area before they can take on their next customer. Again, my system is set up for 15-minute increments, so I click here, and I'm saying that I'm going to block my operator, my provider of the service, for an additional 15 minutes once the appointment is complete. Then I can press Save. You'll see the word saved in red appear. So all I needed to do was put in my name, hit enter, choose a price, a time, and add some cleanup if necessary, and then press save. We've successfully added one service to our group hairstyles. Let's add another service. This time I'm going to say it's a man's haircut. And you know what? I'm not going to say that either. We're going to have a single process. And enter. The service already exists. We'll say single process 2. And enter. We have the name of our service. Again, our salon and spa price, in this case I'll say it's $120. 120.00, enter, and we can move right over to our times. In this case, we're going to choose double instead of a single. By choosing double, what we're saying is that we are going to have 2 times with the customer for the same service with a gap in between those 2. Understand, with a single process, that's your gap. Your customer is going to have the ability to have chemical put into their hair and then a gap in between the beginning of the service where they had the chemical entered and the finishing of the service where the stylist comes back and finishes the job after the client has processed. So I'm going to say that this is an hour and a half or 90 minutes. This is my total time. Again, I'm going to use my right arrow and I'm going to choose 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. Then I have my application time. This is the amount of time set aside to put the chemicals into the hair. And I'll say that's 30 minutes. Then I have the processing time. This is the amount of time that the customer will sit there with the chemical in, or perhaps under a hairdryer, a heating lamp, whatever it may be. This is my processing time. I'm going to say that that is also 30 minutes. Now, I said my total time was an hour and a half, but I've only used up an hour. 30 minutes for application, 30 minutes for processing. That leaves me with whatever time is remaining, in this case, 30 minutes. This is my finish time. And that's how a double is different than a single. There are 2 separate times that the provider is with the customer with a gap in between. This is not commonly used in a day spa environment, but it is important for salons often. Next, we'll go to cleanup again. And once again, I'm going to say I want to block my provider for an additional 15 minutes of time and save. We have now created a second service, this one a little bit different because it was a double. We're going to do a third service now. And this is going to be my double process. I'm just going to call it double for now and enter on my keyboard. And there it is. And it appears here just like the others. And I'm going to say that this is $165. 165.00, enter. Now I can choose my time. In this case, I'm going to choose a triple. What does this mean? Well, if a single means that the provider is with the customer for 1 block of time, and a double means that the provider is with the customer for 2 blocks of time with a gap in between, well then of course a triple means that the provider is with the customer for 3 distinct blocks of time with 2 gaps in between. So in this case, I'm going to say my total time is 2.5 hours. And my first application time, 30 minutes perhaps. My first processing time, I'll also go with 30 minutes. My second application time, again, I'll choose 30 minutes. And my second processing time, again, 30 minutes. I have now blocked out 2 hours of time, but my total time is 2.5 hours. That leaves me with 30 minutes to finish the job. 3 distinct times that the provider is with the customer on a single service with 2 gaps in between. In this case, even though it's a hair service, we're going to pretend that we're going to assign rooms and equipment. So now I can choose rooms. Remember, when we set up our rooms, we denoted them by using an asterisk. So all of the rooms that I've created are listed here. And now I can say that this particular service can be performed in the Elixir room, the Herbal room, and the Ruby room. I can also, if I need to, select equipment. And any equipment that is required for this particular service can also be selected, like my laser 3, and my laser 4. Again, I can select cleanup. I'm going to add an additional 15 minutes of time to my provider, but this time I'm going to also add that time to block out the room and the equipment. In other words, my provider is not just cleaning their area, they are in fact cleaning the room and the equipment so that those things are also held off for an additional 15 minutes so that you don't accidentally book another service immediately after this service was completed, giving the provider or your staff time to clean those areas before moving on. I have now selected a price, a time, rooms, equipment, and cleanup for this particular service. And save. I have now successfully created 3 different services within the hairstyles group: a child haircut, a double, and a single process 2. Now I am going to do something different. I'm going to select Group Mem here on the right. Why am I doing this? Because this is going to allow me the ability to choose which of my staff members work within this group. You may have nail techs, massage therapists, estheticians, hairstylists, colorists, etc. So you may have different people working in different groups. So I'm going to select my group membership, and I'm going to scroll through my rooms and my equipment to get down to my staff. And I'm going to say that Angie, Christian, Debbie, and Juliet all work in my hairstyles group. And save. By doing that, by adding those people to the group, I can now choose their names from the list of the drop-downs for operator price. I can say, for instance, that when Angie does a double, that she actually charges $175, and then save. By doing this, I'm able to give a distinct price to individual providers, and any provider that I don't provide a distinct price to will automatically be assigned the default price. I can do the same thing for my times. I can choose a specific provider and say that when Angie does a double, it's actually 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I can even change the amount of time for application, processing, etc. And save. That is creating a group and creating services in your salon and spa management software. We do hope that you watch all of the videos. Thank you.